Nice, I finally get to do one of these. So, in the comments of the last video we had a bit of a discussion that kept being brought up. Though interestingly not the type of discussion I was expecting considering the contents of the video. You all were surprisingly accepting of that. The discussion essentially boils down to what's next and will we save IMF? And my answer to that is probably not. And there are a few reasons why. But first I will have to provide some context. At the beginning of 3.0 I already talked about how they kept referencing basically every possible past lore concept. And I was absolutely spot on with that as they kept doing that all the way into 3.2. One thing that was being referenced is the Solaris Film Festival in the 2.x Somnoir. For anyone annoyed that this side event keeps being brought up by every single Woowa lore CC on the planet, I have a simple reason why. Because this side event has officially been connected to the main story ever since Cristoforo quoted the ending dialogue of the last movie.
Let's just say it was inspired by the Somme Noire. Imagination, after all, remains humanity's sharpest blade.
Said ending talks about a civilization-eating space entity that breached into the Somme Noire where it is now trapped at the lowest layer, kind of like the circles of hell in Dante's Inferno. The entity, most of the time simply referred to as It, even makes a guest appearance, leading to the following dialogue between Rover and Abby.
Watch out!
The tested mark on the back of your hand glows suddenly. A familiar sensation washes over you. Abby tumbles out in a rush.
Hey Rover, this thing, it feels kinda familiar. Did we beat something like this before?
Our most hated enemy.
Oh, got it. Ha, don't worry Rover, I've got your back.
I already talked about this in another video, but this is in fact our Rover saying this, which is quite curious considering they shouldn't be able to remember this kind of information. Fast forward to 3.x and we get introduced to LF1, a civilization-eating space entity trapped at the deepest layer of La Elroy behind the Strider Gate. Interesting. But until recently I wasn't quite sure if they were meant to be the same entity or if LF1 was simply there to reference it in some kind of foreshadowing. But then we got the Xbox release trailer and two lines stood out to me. The first we already got in context by the Grand Architect.
The opposite of the void. How far can memory type resonators go before its power consumes them?
The fact that "its" is highlighted in quotation marks makes it extremely likely that they are referring to It from the Somme Noire, which has aptly been given the title Gaze from the End. Finally, the second quote from the trailer, delivered by Rover and so far not present in the story, is what brings it all together.
Someday, we'll meet again.
Directly followed by Aime's ult animation. So this is what I think. It in the Somme Noire is way too important and similar to a final boss for the story endgame to be taken down now, even if it is just in form of an analog. Therefore I think we won't defeat LF1 in 3.x, and I think this failure is what is being referenced in the film festival. There's a lot of timey-wimey stuff going on in there, and it wouldn't be the first time that something was mentioned in context of the Somme Noire before it chronologically happened. Time is a closed loop after all. Now, this only justifies it being a familiar enemy, not our worst enemy. And that's where IMF comes into play. Let's assume the following for a minute. Following IMF's traces found by Hioki, we make our way close to or into world space during 3.3. There we actually find IMF, but are unable to retrieve her before being forced to retreat, maybe delaying whatever is going on with LF1, but nothing more. That's where I think the quote by Rover would be placed. It has now been promoted to Rover's enemy number 1, and from there on serves as a goal that will drive the future plot as Rover searches for a solution to save her, leading us back to the encounter in the Somme Noire. As you can see, not only would this outcome be practical from a narrative standpoint, it would also tie in with the story points already set up in the past. To bring this video to a close, here are some plot developments that could possibly occur towards the second half of 3.x if my assumption is correct. 1. A return to Huanglong, specifically Mengzhou. This one is fairly obvious, as its Court of Cervante ruins are currently our best hint to explore the deeper secrets of Solaris, and has even been suggested by Luke. 2. Somme Noire related main story content. 3.1 has been a shift in the game's story, from setup into go mode. Because of that, I can see Kuro slowly introducing the Somme Noire as a main plot point, depending on what kind of information we find in 3.3 or the CSC arc. 3. A Mingting interlude. While also a return to Huanglong, Mingting has its own plot points that have been teased for a while, to the point where we are even aware of some key characters. You can't tell me the female Grand Marshal of the Ministry of War won't be playable. These plot developments don't exclude each other, so one could always lead into the other. But those are my current thoughts, so until we see how much of it is correct, I invite you to comment your thoughts on where the story could go from here. Also a friendly reminder that the community tab is open for you to post questions and thoughts that need a bit more of an explanation. And with that, I'll see you again when next time you follow Teen's Call.